Well, that went a little bit wrong. I should have checked on memory on the phone. This sort of valuable lesson that in this realm things are finite, but I've started, so I'll finish. But I didn't like the way it was going, so while I was deleting images and things, I thought I'd just make a slight correction, make it more pleasing. Well, that's not very pleasing, but it'll do. This is going to be very crude. I'm not really putting a lot of thought into it. I'm just creating to illustrate several points, really. What's he going to start to look like? Some sort of... I don't know, really. You decide. Let's give him more of a sort of a regal look. He's got a very thick neck. That's not... but it's just practice and learning to look at the light. And of course, when you're creating in a void, when you have a blank canvas, you can create pretty much anything. You can use experiences. And you can just come up with all sorts. Well, I don't know what that's supposed to be or who that's supposed to be. It's just a bit of rambling, and that's an incredibly thick neck. I don't like that at all. But we'll have to encompass that into... We won't waste the creation. But here's the thing, you see. I've created something out of nothing on a blank canvas. But you notice, of all that potential, what has been created can only take a singular form. And we can modify it, and we can create similar things, and we can create things, but they're going to look individual. See, I could have gone along the lines of maybe I'd do a drawing of someone, a character that on the internet that is perceived as evil, and maybe I could have gone along a very deceptive thing of saying this is a spiritual channeling and this is what the face of evil looks like. But hold on a minute, because in creating that I have to look at the balance, because what if that was wrong? What if I'm implanting an image which would be a graven image, because it might incite people to go after a specific person and cause them harm? So we don't want to be doing that. What else do we... Let's give him a cigarette as well. Or a joint if you wish. He's starting to look a little bit hippie now. We could even... I don't know. We could even sort of stick some sort of hat on the head. And I think you get the picture. It is, excuse the pun, deliberate pun, to illustrate a point about creation. And in the unseen, it can take many forms. Now, this also has another problem. One, it's not three-dimensional. It is not a physical body of the nature realm as intended. The paper is not as intended. The graphite is not as intended. They are the mediums which I'm using, and in turn this physical avatar is basically a medium to express. So I think you hopefully get the picture. Another sort of deliberate pun in a way, that you've got a creation. It's taken a physical form, but it can only take one form at a time. I could go back to potential. I could destroy that and start again. I could reset. I could go to the next page, the next chapter on this ongoing life, because this is like represents a generation as well, you could say. Excuse me. But it lacks life and it lacks blood. They're the two operant parts in this physical realm, in these avatars. And people are looking for themselves, because whatever form that this takes, it's come from something that would appear to be nothing, that is no thing. But it is still something. It is potential. It is not being given a form of any kind when it is just the raw paper or in the void. But we also have to consider what we create. If I create an image with the intent that I want people to go after a specific individual, what the hell am I creating? I'm creating more chaos into this realm. So I use my free will, and I'm looking to create beautiful pictures of this one, in my personal preference, would say is not beautiful. I don't like it. But I thought I'd be fearless and not have a pre-drawn, prescribed picture and just create it as I talk, because I wanted to illustrate about how we create in the moment. But of course, now you have a creation here that is without life. Of course, it is dead. It is created, and it is inanimate. It cannot do anything. It's just an illusion, a shadow. But you're in a form that is living, and you can become. You can be anything you want to be, and you can create yourself. See, whereas this has got limitations of physical form, what I create from the heart, it is unlimited in what it can create, unlimited in the power that it can push outwards. Then that is a far greater power, and it is not limited, and it doesn't take a single form, and it really can change the world. The intent here is not to prove to any one of you anything. The intent is to prove this to myself, that it can be done. This reality is Maya. I think it is very obvious that the narrative is you are insignificant, you can do nothing, you cannot change a thing. I contest that. I say with imagination and creativity and generating enough feeling and convincing myself and denying the external and putting out into the external the way I wish to see the world, that is in harmony, without all these negatives, in a state of contentedness, in a realm that is being and being content on a completely different vibration, then we will move out of this realm as it is. You see, if you're not tuned into a frequency, you're just going to get static and distortion. You need to be attuned. That comes from within by bringing yourself into alignment, by doing that inner core work that's so essential, facing self, because that is all this is. It is all an experience for you to know that I am. And I am proving it to I am. There is no other. But whilst I am potential, I can take infinite forms, multiple forms at the same time, because I am from a realm that has no time or space. So I am you, you are me, we are one, but we are individualized to experience this, because when we come into a solid form, we can only take one form. But of all those forms, who would believe if any one of those forms proclaimed that they are the I am? Very few would accept that. And yet, that applies to all of us. We are like that Christ all chandelier. We are aspects of one light reflecting to each other. Some are good reflections, some are bad reflections. Just like to bring out an image, you need to start adding contrasts of shade and defining, giving things shape and form so you can distinguish one thing from another. You have to have the time and the space for that, to create that. It's a bit of a muddle, but it's inanimate. It's just purely an illustration of the ability to create. See, the beauty of this is what is created and comes from the unseen potential. It's not limited to just one sheet of paper or just as a two-dimensional image. There is no limitation because there is no time or space. The only thing I need to consider is, what am I creating and what cause and effect will it have? You see, the more I reveal, the more the opposition, the contrast will ramp up. So in a way, I am creating destruction and I'm creating a new earth all at the same time. From one perspective, I would be seen as a Satan. From another perspective, I would be seen as a God, as a creator. They are both forms of creation. And they follow the pattern of nature. So the seed that becomes the tree that becomes the apple, it's just a cycle. It just repeats and just takes infinite forms. Some forms look very similar, other forms look very different. They are categorized by man as a way and given labels and grouped in certain patterns. So you have plant kingdom, animal kingdom, and human. And even in the physical, when you compare to the animal kingdom, when it's expressed about having dominion, we're predominantly upright. We're on a vertical axis. We're growing to the light. Animals are on four legs and therefore are on a horizontal, more earthly plane. But this is a beautiful spiritual evolution that affects not just humanity, but all forms of life. And there is this realization of this power of creation that we have within us and what we can create. See, if I'd have planned this out and put a lot more thought instead of spontaneous in the moment, I would have come up with a very, very different picture from this. Well, hopefully that has shed a bit of light on things, brought things into perspective, given you another perspective to look at creation, and in a way that hopefully you will find out who you truly are and what you really are capable of. And as part of that, I hope that in finding that, you also have the realization, and I feel it goes hand in hand in the balance, that you won't get it, you won't be given it until you have mastered the ability to control it, because otherwise that could create something far worse than now. But when we are in master of our emotions and they're not allowed to run away and create all sorts of mayhem, then we can create something far more beautiful. Not like this picture. Anyway, I will say love to you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And yeah, just have a think about that. In fact, go better than that. Just if you can't think of anything, just do the unthinkable. Just pick up, get yourself a notepad or a piece of paper, anything, doesn't matter. Something to illustrate or write. And just if you want to write, for example, just hold it like you're going to write something, and just let it flow. Let the thoughts flow. See what you create. It's a journey of self-discovery, or if you want to do it in the form of a picture, then do it in the form of a picture, whatever is right to you, really. And just reflect on what you're creating. What are you manifesting? What are you bringing into this reality? How are you changing this reality? What world are you creating around yourself? I would suggest to create the best possible spiritual umbrella around your informed field, around your torus field, because you really do not want something to come raining upon you. You wish to be surely in a state where you're not going to come to harm, you're not going to be rocked by emotions from the external, and regardless of what that external is presenting in this realm of Maya, remember that you can become the atom, and just like an atom, look at the analogy of there's a very tiny, tiny bit that is solid and material with this huge, great bubble in relative size around it, where there is nothing, but in nothing there is something. And it is all potential. What you put out into that informed field will depend on the amount of inner work you've done, whether you have got to your core, examined your core values, found your moral compass, operate from the heart place, the heart space, become heart-centered, more in attune with the Mother Earth principle rather than the outward exploring creator principle, bringing it more into alignment, more in balance between the two, because it's expressed in one form as being transhumanism. You are reforming yourself. You are going through a reformation. You are reforming. You are recreating yourself. You become the embodiment of one within oneself in the process. And it's a magical process. And I can't give you a CD that has a recording of emotion so you can feel it. The only way you're going to know it is to experience it, and that is through what you will be shown in the mind's eye and what you will feel inside yourself. That is the only way you're ever going to know, is to go through the experience. But the only thing that's stopping you having the experience is because you're allowing doubt and fear in the way. Close the door on doubt and fear, and there's a magical, magical light that springs forth, like that flower that comes out. It ascends, it rises towards the light, just like a flower. You become a flower of life. How beautiful is that? So go out there, blossom and bloom, and you don't have to be rooted to one spot. You have the flexibility and freedom to move. You have an advantage over the trees. They are stuck in one position. You are not. You can change your environment rather than just remaining static and just having to bend with the wind. You can move yourself into a new state of being, a new state of consciousness, a new level of contentedness, a feeling where you don't want for anything and you feel perfectly happy, but you can go on to create far more because it is all potential. So reflect on that and then transmute it and radiate it out, shine. We can change this world. We can create a new earth with a new frequency by changing our frequency and vibration. We attune ourselves, the world will attune to us. Love to you all.